Okay, excellent. Here we go again. Sorry about that. It's all a learning curve. So I'm going to share my screen, and I did not yet formally introduce myself, but my name's Anna Vick. I'm so excited to have all of you here. So I've been with CCU for 4 years now, and I teach in the College of Adult and Graduate Studies, primarily in psychology. I also teach research and statistics. So you'll notice I might be pulling in some of that as we go. I love research. I got my PhD, completed that in 2017, and so I had to do an enormous amount of research, a dissertation, all that jazz in grad school. So I became very, very interested in that, and it is a big area of passion for me. And what I'll do is share the screen. So if you can see the screen, please let me know. It should show Blackboard.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So what we'll do is just walk through the first couple weeks of our course content, and the video sessions. I've sent out a lot of announcements, but I'll just say it here too. The video sessions have been scheduled for every other week. So we will have this kind of a class meeting. I think we'll probably try Zoom next time, see if that's a little easier for people. But we'll have this type of a meeting all together every other week. And then on the weeks that we don't have these, I'll be holding the office hours. These will be recorded for those who cannot make it. Office hours are not recorded because they're an opportunity for more one-on-one or small group interaction and for questions on assignments. It's kind of like a workshop. So if anybody wants to pop in, get help, or even just say hi, chat through some of what we're working on, that's a really good option for the office hours. Okay, so week 1 we've already done, but I will hit on the topic outcomes just because we haven't had a chance to discuss them together. So week 1 focuses on roots, contemporary issues, and the subfields of psychology. And I've really enjoyed the input on the discussion for week 2. Several people have shared the areas that interest them the most in psychology. And psychology really is the study of the human mind, the human psyche, and ultimately the way that the mind allows us to function, to relate to others, and to connect with ourselves. And we're always looking at psychology for optimal human performance and engagement. So we're thinking about how we can best connect with others, how we can live the healthiest possible life, and how we then can be a blessing and be a gift to others in the best way possible. And those really are the main aims of psychology. So we did that getting to know you discussion in week 1, and you'll notice that each week has one task for us to do. So week 1 was that discussion. Week 2, we're diving into another discussion, which most of you have posted in already, talking about benefits or potential costs of studying psychology. And as a clarification and a reminder for discussions, our units all open on a Monday. They're all 1 week long. So we want to get our initial discussion post in by Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. and that is Mountain Standard Time. Okay, so if you're running late, reach out to me, let me know what's going on. I know people have extenuating circumstances, so I'm happy to work with you. But as a general rule, we're trying to hit that Wednesday, 11:59 p.m. And the best discussion posts will have source, text citation, or other relevant sources. You could do a quote or just take a main point and include the source that you used for that. And you're also going to want to connect to scripture. So psychology sometimes seems to be out of line with scripture, and some people might say, oh, psychology doesn't really go with the Bible, but in reality, there are beautiful integrations that can be made. And CCU has actually had a course that over time at the college level for the adult and graduate studies has examined the integration of psychology and theology. And I've had the privilege of teaching that several times. And it's always incredible to recognize the connections between these topics and our relationship with God. Oh, great. Okay, so question, Emily, I just saw your chat, which is why I went away from the screen. Are you able to unmute yourself and tell us if you can hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
I am so glad you're here. That's wonderful. Emily, feel free to do your camera or not, but the most important part is that you can hear us. So, welcome.
Got it, got it. Thank you.
Of course. And Emily, what we're doing right now is just walking through the Blackboard course shell and talking about psychology in general. This is really kind of an intro session, and we've all gotten started on the discussions already, so you're familiar with that format. But we're talking about posting by Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. That's Mountain Standard Time, including source citation and scripture connections, and then moving on to the minimum of 2 response posts to others. And those response posts will be required by the final day of the course, which is that Sunday. So when we've been in that session for a week, Sunday, 11:59 p.m., minimum of 2 responses to others. And a really good way to make sure that we're on track for discussions is to go into the rubric. Did somebody chat something?
Sorry, that was me. I accidentally clicked the button.
That's okay. It's all good. But going into the rubric is a really good place to start. And so in the rubric, you'll see things such as the posting on time. And for response posts, it will describe in the rubric what we're looking for, a comprehensive response. So really put some thought and some time into it. I like to think about something that will build on our discussion. Asking questions of others is a great thing to do. So sometimes we might see response posts where somebody says, "Oh, great, I agree. Have a wonderful week." And that's really nice. It's glad tidings, it's pleasant, but it doesn't build our academic discussion. So it's not that it has to be miles and miles long, but really think about maybe a good paragraph that you can get in your response post to somebody else. Something that I love in psychology is connections to the real world. You can look at news articles or even share a situation that you've experienced in your life or something you've observed for somebody else related to our topic. I put something in the week 2 discussion in a response to a student regarding the parables in the Gospels. Those are rich resources, even thinking about the parable of the prodigal son. We're talking about psychology, family relationships, conflict and resolution. So the Gospels provide us with some really good ties if you're looking for a place to start. The book of Proverbs also. As we know, it's the book of wisdom. We're thinking about different statements and verses throughout Proverbs about how to best relate to other people and to manage our own behavior. That's self-management, which is closely related to psychology. So that's a little overview of discussion expectations, and that's what we've got going on here in week 2. We are still looking at roots, contemporary issues, and the subfields. And here you'll see this bullet point is biblical theology compatible with psychology. And that's, as I just mentioned, something that we'll continue to dive into. And the biblical perspective in those discussions is a really good place to start when we're looking for those connections. A beautiful word that you may not have seen before is listed here. It's the biopsychosocial approach. And so it's a long one, but you'll see it's broken down into 3 roots that we already know. Bio, that's biology, so our physiological functioning. We're thinking about the neurological various chemicals and connectors, receptors, and functions within the brain. We're thinking about physical health in general. And then we're thinking about the psychological component for the second part of that word. So that's what we're thinking and feeling and how and why we're thinking and feeling it. What's going on in the psyche or in the mind. And then the social component would be our relational approach and our social experiences, the things that have happened to us. So the biopsychosocial approach is what we would call a whole human approach. It's comprehensive. And as you're reviewing the terms in your reading and as we're talking through the discussion board, be thinking about that biopsychosocial approach, because I think that in all of our experiences, we would agree nobody is only supported or founded by one of these things. All of these things merge together to create the human experience. So we will be working in this course. It's really an overview with the biological components, what's going on in the brain, and the concept of medication as treatment for a mental health issue will be considered in this course and examined also, and we can talk further about that. And that's that biological component. Physical health, we think about exercise and the endorphins. We know exercise is evidence-based for boosting mood and overall well-being. So these are some of the biological components. Psychological, obviously, that's the title of the course. We're looking at psychology, what's going on with the mind and the personality. And the social is going to be our relationships to others. So the concepts of group thinking or group mentality. What are the other people around you doing and how are you reacting to it? What's going on in your relationships and how can we be more effective in those situations and ultimately to spread the love of God to others? I think we would all agree there are some really quite unique social circumstances going on right now. So don't be afraid to bring those in respectfully and with evidence to our discussions and talk through what kinds of group mentalities you might be seeing, what kinds of social conflicts are going on, and what does that have to do with that social component of psychology, kind of bleeding into sociology, the study of groups and the influence of those groups. The concept of, you've probably heard the question, if everybody else jumped off a bridge, would you? And it's kind of a intense little joke that some people will use, but it really gets us thinking, how do the actions of those around us influence what we're doing? Okay, so that's the biopsychosocial approach. Something that I love as a side note with the social component is research on helping. So why do we help others? What motivates us to help others? Is that motivation intrinsic within ourselves or is it extrinsic? We think that others will think better of us. It's motivation coming from the outside. We want to appear a certain way. We want to be virtuous in the eyes of the world. So where does the helping motivation come from? And how might the time that we have or the energy that we have contribute to our help for others? So that helping behavior is a really big part of social psychology. So it will be fun for us to look into some of these topics as we go. And then week 3, we've got our assigned reading. And so just a little preview into next week, we do have a quiz. So it will leave 45 minutes. It's got 15 questions. And you should be able to pull it up and look through it as we hit week 3. The quiz will be open note, open book. So don't feel bad about using your resources. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, but it'll just be questions based on what we are learning. And so you'll be able to take the content from weeks 1, 2, and 3 and build into your responses there, and then we'll proceed. So we've got that online quiz. That means there's no discussion for week 3. But then week 4, we will dive into a discussion. This will be focused on motivation and culture, what motivates you. So what your behaviors, you're looking at your behaviors and why do I do what I do? What motivates me to get up in the morning, to go to school or to go to work? What motivates me to take this class with CCU? What motivates me to do this or that thing in preparation for my future? And if we're struggling with motivation, what will help me to get motivated in a healthy way? So that'll be a little sneak peek as we're looking at the week 4 discussion, just kind of trying to look ahead so that everybody knows what's coming. So I will stop sharing the screen now. Pretty manageable. Great, I can see you now, Emily. Awesome. Pretty manageable content, pretty straightforward. And Emily, before you got here, we discussed the fact that these video classes will be recorded, but honestly, it's really fun to see your smiling faces. So if you're able to make it, please come, even if you can't make it to the whole thing. They'll be roughly 30 minutes. So here I will conclude with the recording of this here in a moment, and then we can move into just a Q&A.